What you're seeing right now did not happen by accident. This story did not begin with a headline. It did not start with an announcement. It has been building quietly, over time. And something here does not add up. aespa 2060 DTIK. Take a moment with this, because what comes next changes how this detail looks. This is not about rumors. It is not about assumptions. It is about a pattern, a timing, and a detail fans quietly noticed. Direct hit MENIT 14, AMAN and ENAK DIDNJR Lily PARKER. Focus on this part. For months, fans noticed something subtle about Jungkook. Not his music, not his performances, but his appearance. More specifically, his glasses. Rimless glasses. At first, it felt insignificant. Just another styling choice. But it did not happen once. And it did not stop. He kept wearing them. In rehearsals. In casual moments. Behind the scenes. And fans noticed. Because Jungkook is known for change. Yet this detail remained. MENIT 46, INIBAJUAN Paling, MASUK, KESURACWE. Around the same period, fans began noticing winter. Not through headlines. Not through official news. Just photos. Quiet appearances. And there it was. Rimless glasses. The same understated style. The same clean frame. Nothing was explained. Nothing was highlighted. It was simply there. Fans did not rush to react. They compared timelines. They rewatched clips. And slowly, a pattern began to form. Pause, EMOSI. BIAR Lily PARKER KDNGRAN DALAM. Pause for a moment. Let that thought settle. Because in this world, very little is random. PNUTUP, TNANG Mahal, TAHAN Lama. So the question is simple. Was it just a coincidence? Or was it two quiet moments, sharing the same timeline, without saying a word? No statements were made. Only a detail noticed. By fans who pay attention. And sometimes, the quietest details say the most. What makes this even more interesting is how quiet the reaction was. There was no explosion of comments. No instant conclusions. Just people noticing. And then noticing again. Because when something is repeated, it stops feeling accidental. Fans began revisiting old clips. Older photos. Moments that once felt ordinary. They were not looking for proof. They were looking for consistency. And consistency is what caught their attention. Rimless glasses did not appear once. They appeared, disappeared, and then appeared again. In different settings, different days, different contexts. That repetition mattered. Because trends usually peak fast and fade quickly. But habits linger. And this felt like a habit. Take a moment to consider this. Fashion choices for idols are rarely random. They are discussed, planned, reviewed. Yet the most believable details are the ones that feel natural, unforced, unannounced. That is why fans focused on this. Because nothing about it felt staged. As the conversation continued, something else became clear. Fans were careful with their words. They did not say, "This means something." They said, "This is interesting." They shared side-by-side images. Not to prove a point, but to ask a question. And that question spread quietly. From one comment section to another. From one timeline to the next. Pause for a moment. Because this is how narratives begin. Not with statements, but with curiosity. Not with certainty, But with attention, over time, the detail became symbolic, not because of what it confirmed, but because of what it suggested. That sometimes, connections are not announced. They are observed. And fans, especially longtime fans, are trained observers. They notice patterns. Others overlook. What stood out most was how calm the discussion remained. No urgency. No rush. Just a shared understanding that something small was worth noticing. And in a space where everything is loud, that kind of quiet attention is rare. So this story never needed confirmation. It lived in the space, between moments, between appearances, between timelines. It existed because people were watching, carefully, respectfully. And that is why this detail stayed with fans. Not because it answered anything, but because it asked something. Something simple. Something human. Pause again. Let that settle. Because sometimes, the most interesting stories are the ones that never announce themselves. They simply appear, quietly, and wait to be noticed. As time passed, the detail did not fade. It stayed in the background, quietly present. Fans did not chase answers. They simply remembered. Because moments like this do not demand explanation. They invite reflection. In a world where every move is analyzed and amplified, this detail remained subtle. And that subtlety was exactly what made it powerful. What fans responded to was not the object itself. It was the feeling that sometimes real moments do not announce themselves. They exist naturally, unforced. And when they do, people sense it. There was no need to label the moment, no need to define it, because attention alone was enough. The details served as a reminder that not everything meaningful needs to be spoken. Some things are simply noticed. Pause for a final moment. Let that thought stay with you. Because long after headlines fade, it is often the quiet details that remain. Not because they were explained, but because they were felt. And maybe that is the point. Not everything meaningful needs to be explained. Some details are not meant to become headlines. They exist quietly. They pass softly. And only those who are paying attention ever notice them. This was never about answers. It was about observation. A moment. A pattern. A detail. Left open. Unspoken. And sometimes, that is exactly where the story ends.